Okay, Mario once again with MIA Microflight, and I'm continuing to do videos on this modification of this tire. This is a tube type tire, inflatable. Size is 4.1, 3.5-4. 4 is the rim size. Now in my other video, I did two videos prior to this one. The first one talks about the modification of this tire to resize it to fit a 5-inch hub, one of those hoverboard motors. The second video I did was about the testing of that. I had it on the car, on the go-kart, and ran for a little while, but the tire popped out with a fracture on the side of the wall here, this right here. It just ripped. And so what I'm thinking happened is I don't think this tire had, perhaps, let me see. No, this doesn't show the, I was thinking maybe if I made a cut kind of on an angle that might have started the rip, but no, this just ripped right out. It just exploded, from the tire. So I'm thinking more it has to do with the fact that the rim, when I shorten this out, there's not enough inside material here to support itself inside the hover motor rim. And in order to illustrate this, I did a drawing here, which I'm going to go over this as follows. So we have the front view of the tire, which would be that with a hub. I don't have the hub here. It's on the go-kart, and I'm actually inside the house here right now. But just kind of thinking this thing over and how I can resolve this issue here. Part of the fun for me is resolving problems, that creep up when you do this. I could avoid all these things and just get a hub wheels with the tires, for about $100. You can buy those. But what's the fun in buying something that there's no fun in that. And those of you who have been following my videos, for the past 25 years and more, know that I'm about I find ways. I'm about creativity. I'm about doing fun things like that. If it doesn't work, I find ways and I try to make it work. The other thing is that I like to remain with a certain budget. Anytime I work on a project like this for fun, I give myself a budget to work with, so that I don't go crazy, because you can go nuts, spending money left and right here just trying to make things work. I don't operate that way. I try to solve problems, with creative ways. And so that's what I'm about. When it comes to my products, and not to confuse that approach, when it comes to products that I sell, my ultralights, my hang gliders, my helicopters, all the stuff that I've sold, throughout 25 years of being in operation under MIA Microflight. That I also have budgets there, but they're a little more generous in terms of what I spend. If I need machinery that I need to do specific projects, if I need to build a machine, I don't question that. I just build it because I know that that's going to pay itself back, provided the product sells. Most of my products have sold quite well. I don't think I've had a product that I can say has not done well, because everything that I put out has done very well. For the small company that I've been operating, for like I said, the past 25 years, since 1999. Getting close to 25 years. But so the budgets are different. But for fun stuff like that, I like to force myself to be really creative and just be really cheap. Because the way I see it is that if I do something like this and somebody else wants to try, if it works, great. You're not spending a lot of money, and there's a lot of people that just don't have the means, to go and buy, just a wheel with a hub, a tire, that this size, with a hub, and but there's also a lot of people that like tinkering, and so I'm also a tinkerer. I love to tinkle. I love to take things apart. I love to see what's inside and see if I can, find ways to make it better. And if something doesn't work, I find a way to make it repurpose it. Make it work for some other applications. And so if you spend the time, um, a lot of things are possible. I have a saying that goes like this: nothing is impossible and everything is negotiable within reason. Within reason is the key there, in achieving the things that may be impossible. And when you use a lot of creativity, you don't really need to spend a lot of money. Okay, having said that, I wanted to get that out of the way. It's kind of an introduction to this, because you may think, this guy is, he's cutting this wheel, he's not realizing that that's going to work. That's part of the fun. Yes, when I cut this wheel, I should have thought about the ring, because that ring that I cut, in order to get my 5-inch diameter from a 4-inch diameter it was originally, it lost its rigidity to some degree, and so that has to be compensated for if you do this modification. And so I think I have found a solution, and this is what this diagram is about. So we have here the front of the wheel, like I said, with a hub, and the side view would be this one right here, such that you can see the hub. I separated the hub. The tire is there. Of course, the tube is inside the tire. I'm not showing the tube, and I'm not showing the windings of the motor here. So this is the hub motor. That is the cover of the motor, the other side of the motor, the other plate that gets screwed on when you want to remove the windings and the innards of the motor. So I have basically exploded that view so that we can see what's going on here. And what I think needs to happen here in order for this not to happen is this needs to be reinforced. So the amount of material that I took out from here yielded a weaker section, with that 5-inch diameter hub. And there's not really a lot of depth here in this lip, or this this section here, of the motor, to hold the tire in place. And so that's why I think this happened. And so in order to provide that support, I figured, 2 plates would do the trick here. To imagine these as being huge washers that are maybe 6-inch washers that are placed as you see them here. So this would be on providing extra support on the wall of the tire, on the sides here. So I'm calling these side plates somewhere here. It's plates right here. So it's kind of a rough sketch, but this is a little bit better here. So these side plates, or imagine them as washers, I think would reinforce this section here if these tires are cut the way I showed them in video 1. And I think in that case, this would be supported, and we would not have this issue here that happened here. This popped because it doesn't have the reinforcement on this wall right here, on the rim, extra reinforcement that it needs to have in order for the wheel not to collapse or pop. Is I think this happened. This popped, and probably happened. When I hit a bump, this tube probably compressed and forced this to give. I know it's kind of interesting because this is pretty thick. This is that's a good, I would say 3/16 thick rubber right here. I think these things are made with nylon strands. They're reinforced, but so it could also be that I hit a rock on the side. No, a rock would not do this. No, I think it's just that the pressure and not having the support around the rim, the proper support around the rim. If this hub had this what you call that, shoulder a little bit wider, we would not be needing these plates right here, these washer like plates. And so that's what I'm going to be working on, because I still want to make use of these 4.1 35 4-inch tires. I was going to buy, the 5-inch. I did find that Home Depot does have the 4.1/3.5-5, and they do have the tubes. When I went to select those, they're $12, almost $13 for the tires, and they're about $8 for the tubes. So we're talking about $21, 21 for one, just a complete set right here, a wheel. These, I just bought 4 of these, from Harbor Freight today. 4 additional ones, they cost me about $7. They were on sale for $6.99. The whole thing with the plates, with the hubs, metal plates. And so we're talking about $7 versus $21. I mean that's quite a difference in pricing. And so I still want to make this work. And that's why I came home today and I was like, I gotta resolve this issue here. So I started analyzing this, and I believe that making a rim or an extra washer. And this can be inserted, once the motor's taken apart. This can be fit over this. It'll come to this top right here, and that'll provide that support on the side. And then the same thing has to be done on the other side. Mirror image. Of course, this is the cover to the hub motor that has to be removed, and in order to do this, so that everything is sandwiched between these 2 plates right here to give additional support to the sides of the tire. This side is intact, and I bet I can still, if with those plates, I bet I can still use this tire. I think that'll cover this like that. It'll be maybe come up to another 1/2 inch. I think I can still get away with this tire here, although I did buy 4 additional ones. Just to play around with. Anyway, that's my take on this. Mario once again with the MIA Microflight.